Hello everyone, I am Sneha Kushwaha, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Rama University, Kanpur. In my previous videos, I have been discussing about SAR, that is Structure Activity Relationship. So today we are having the discussion on the same topic with a short revision of the previous sessions. So SAR means the structure activity relationship, and these studies can be carried out by making various minor changes to the structure of a lead to produce the analogs. And then we assess the effects that these structural changes may have on the biological activity. Now we can make certain changes, and those changes can be made in three ways. First, we can target the size and shape of the carbon skeleton, and can have changes in the biological activity of the parent compound. Now we can look on the nature and the degree of substitution and the stereochemistry of the lead. So in my previous sessions, we discussed about the size and shape of the carbon skeleton, and we were discussing about the nature and degree of substitution as well as the stereochemistry of the lead. So I also discussed about the various substitutions we can have or we can attach to the parent molecule to change the biological activity according to our requirement. So these are the substitution groups we can use. So in the previous sessions, I discussed about these three: methyl group, halogen, and hydroxyl. Now today we are going to discuss about the remaining four groups we can use to alter the biological activity. So first is this basic group, second is carboxylic and sulfonic acid groups, third one is thiol, sulfides and other sulfur groups, and the last one is changing the existing substituents of a lead with another substituent which may have the similar structure. So let's start with the basic groups. So if we introduce such basic groups in our parent compound, there will be certain changes. So these basic groups may be amines, which may include the ring nitrogen atom or amidines and guanidines. So these are the amines. This is the amine or attached to a hydrogen atom. These are the amidines, and this is the structure of guanidine. Now all these basic groups, they can form salts in the biological media. Now, the important thing is that if we incorporate these basic groups into the structure of the parent compound and produce the analogs, then the respective analogs which have lower lipophilicity and increased water solubility. This means that the analogs which are being produced by incorporating these basic groups, which will have lower lipophilicity, means they will have lower membrane permeability. Next, the more basic analog is, the more likely it will form the salts and less it will be transported to the lipid membrane. Now, the aromatic amines are very toxic, they are carcinogenic, and incorporation of such groups is strictly avoided. So, aromatic amines are of little use, they should be avoided. Now, this figure shows how the amines are attached to the carboxyl end of the target site, so they can be bounded by two ways, with the hydrogen bond as well as the ionic bond. If a lone pair is present, it can form a hydrogen bond, and if a lone pair is absent, it is a ion, and then it can form a ionic bond. Next, we are going to discuss about the carboxylic and the sulfonic acid groups. Now, by the introduction of such groups into the structure of a parent compound, we will have a increased water solubility but reduced lipophilicity. And this increment in the water solubility will be due to the enhancement in the salt formation. The introduction of the carboxylic as well as the sulfonic acid groups into the lead compound will be producing analogs which will be readily eliminated from the body. So, as I said earlier, it will have increased water solubility. That's why the analogs produced by such incorporations which will be having good elimination rates. Now we shall discuss about the sulfonic acid groups, because they have no effect on the biological activity, but still they increase the rate of excretion of an analog. Next, we talk about the carboxylic acid groups into the if these are introduced into the living molecules, they may produce analogs that will have different activity, or they will have no activity. So we will take the example of certain examples. I have presented here two examples. One is of phenol and the second one is of phenyl ethyl amine. So let's come to the first example. If we introduce a carboxylic acid group in the phenol, so it will entirely change the property of the compound. This is the phenol, and if we introduce the carboxylic acid group, it forms salicylic acid, and the parent molecule was having a toxic antiseptic property, while after incorporation of this acidic group, it is less toxic and anti-inflammatory in its action. So I told that there will be a different type of activity. So this is the example of such a change in the activity. Now the next example is of phenyl ethyl amine. So it is having sympathomimetic activity, but as we introduce this the carboxylic acid group at this position, the activity is lost. So there is no sympathomimetic activity in the phenylalanine. So again, my point is proven here that the introduction of carboxylic acid groups produces inactive analogs. So these both examples are best suited for such explanation. Next, we will discuss about the thios, sulfides, and other sulfur groups. So thios and sulfide groups are not usually introduced into the leads in the sun studies. The reason for this is that they are readily metabolized by oxidation, and if these are readily metabolized by oxidation, then there is no use of introducing such groups in the studies. Now, for thios, these are sometimes introduced into the lead structure when we require improved metallization in the sun studies. So here we have a good example of captopril, which is antihypertensive in nature, and these are developed by weakly active carboxy acid prolines, and these are produced by the replacement of their terminal carboxylic acid group with a thiol group. So after replacement, we are having a better complex which are formed between the such thiol groups and the metals than that of the carboxylic groups. That's why sometimes thios are used in the SAR studies just for the improved metallization properties. Now let us talk about thiourea and thioamide groups. Introduction of such groups is usually avoided. They are of no use because they may produce goiter, swelling on the neck due to the enlargement of the thyroid gland. Next is the changing the existing substituents of a lead by an entirely new group. So this is totally different as we are going forward. Analogs can be formed by making the use of the concept of isosteres. So here a new term is being introduced, that is isosteres. So what are isosteres? So isosteres can be defined as the groups that have some similarity in their physical or chemical properties. So sometimes we just replace substituents in a parent compound by isosteres. So they can exhibit similar pharmacokinetic as well as pharmacodynamic properties. Now, the replacement of substituent by its isostere may result in the formation of an analog with the same type of activity, or it may have a totally different activity. Both the conditions are possible. It may have similar activity, or the analog produced may have a totally different activity. Now, the classical isosteres defined by Ehrenmeyer. So Ehrenmeyer was a person who defined the classical isosteres as these are the compounds or ions or molecules having identical outer shells of electrons. So this was the definition defined by Ehrenmeyer. Now here's a new term again, bioisosteres. So a bio term is being placed before isosteres, and this means that these are the chemical compounds that have similar biological activities. So there are two terms, isosteres and bioisosteres. So isosteres is just some similarity in physical and chemical properties, while for bioisosteres we can say there is a similarity between the biological activities. Now we shall see some examples of classical isosteres. So this is the structure of hypoxanthine. Uh, this is the sixth position, and the replacement of this hydroxy group on the hypoxanthine by a thiol group, 6-mercaptopyrin is formed, and it exhibits a anti-tumor property. So here uh, there is a replacement, and this is known as isosteric replacement. This is an isostere. Okay. So next example of uracil. In uracil, this is the fifth position, and the replacement of the hydrogen at the fifth position by a fluorine atom produces fluorouracil, and it also has anti-tumor property. Now it is an important point to note that all the isosteric changes yielding compounds does not have the same type of activity. So this can be explained with the example of phenothiazine. Phenothiazine is a compound which is having a neuroleptic, or we can say antipsychotic property. Now if we replace this sulfur atom with CH single bond CH or CH2 double bond CH2, it will produce dibenzazepines. These are dibenzazepines. Both the compounds are dibenzazepines, and these exhibit antidepressant activity. So here this isosteric replacement are producing analogs which exhibited quite a different activity. The parent compound phenothiazine was having neuroleptic and antipsychotic property, while the analogs produced are having antidepressant activity. So there are two possibilities again in the isosteric replacement. The activities may be same between parent and analog, while they may be different also. Now this is a short table which is showing various classical isosteres and bioisosteres which we can use to enhance the biological activity of a particular parent compound and can produce various analogs. So that's all for now. Thank you.